My man! Ooh, that hurt my throat.
Because it's Thursday.
Hello, Watchtower Database, and welcome back to the Vanishing Point. With the Aquaman movie being here next week, I figured it would be a good time to look into the ruler of Atlantis, or more specifically, his kingdom. With Atlantis being a fictional city, there are really no real-world bearings on where it actually is. There have been historians who have tried to pin down where the real-world equivalent may be, but since it is deeply rooted in fiction, from universe to fictional universe, it may change depending on wherever the writers happen to want it to be. So with that being said, despite the fact that Atlantis has been mapped out in DC properties before, such as in Super Friends or Flashpoint, we're going to try to go off of clues specifically from the DCAU to try to give us a look at where their version of Atlantis may actually be. Looking back to the earliest known history of the city, in Justice League's The Terror Beyond, we're told that Poseidon was the ruler of Atlantis thousands of years ago. Now, being part of the pantheon of Greek gods, one could assume that this would place it possibly within the Mediterranean Sea, seeing as this is likely the only body of water that the Grecians would have ever seen in their lives. This also lines up with the fact that Orm paid Deadshot in Spanish doubloons to kill Aquaman, since Spain also borders the Mediterranean Sea. However, this placement kind of overlooks the name of Atlantis, and how it's only one letter off from Atlantic, where it is normally portrayed to be. And honestly, the Atlantic Ocean makes a lot of sense with other evidence that we have been given throughout the DCAU. In Aquaman's first appearance in the DCAU, in the episode A Fish Story, we're told that the king of Atlantis was captured off the eastern seaboard in international waters. We also see him walk onto shore in Metropolis and The Enemy Below. Now, I assume he probably hitched a ride on a dolphin most of the way and then walked the rest of the way to kind of make a badass impression. Of course, the Atlantic Ocean is huge, so that's not where we're going to leave things. In the Atlantean War Room, we get this map with a bunch of red glowy things. I don't know if my hands are under or above the map. First instinct led me to believe that one of these may be Atlantis. However, due to them being so far south, that doesn't really seem to line up with Aquaman's easy access to the shores of Metropolis. You see, we know that Gotham is set in the state of New York, and while we don't know specifically where Metropolis may be at, this panel from Gotham Girls number 5 kind of makes me think that it's not that far away. I mean, it's far enough away to be inconvenient, but it's like a mild inconvenience. It's not like we gotta take 2 days to get there. So it's likely that the red dots are actually just military outposts rather than a "you are here" sign. After all, this is a war room. It's Atlantean generals in here. They know where they are. Not to mention, the Atlanteans also have a doomsday thermal reactor in the North Pole. So it's much more likely that the location of the Lost City would be somewhere between those military outposts and the North Pole itself. So what other information do we have? Well, let's move back to those Spanish doubloons for a bit. Those were in circulation from 1537 to 1849, meaning they likely came into the possession of the city of Atlantis sometime in between then. Looking at the Spanish trade routes from the time, this means it's very likely that the doubloons were recovered from a ship taking the return route up here, returning to Spain from Havana. The last piece of evidence that we have to narrow it all down is Wonder Woman saying this thing that she says. Put in the clip, put it here, put it there, just have it.
We're almost there. Atlantis is just beyond that reef.
With everything we've already laid out, that leads me to believe that Atlantis is probably somewhere around these dots right here on this coral reef map. It matches the being in international waters. It matches the trade route. It matches the coral reef. Now that we have the location of the Lost City, my question for you guys today, to leave your answers in the down under in the Australia box, is, are you guys excited for Aquaman? Honestly, the DCEU has kind of left a bad taste in my mouth ever since Batman v Superman. So I haven't watched any of the movies since. I haven't watched Suicide Squad or Justice League or Wonder Woman. But something about Aquaman has me Arthur curious. Curious? No? touch of curare. So I'm thinking about going and seeing it, but I'm just wanting to hear from you guys what your thoughts are based on everything we've seen about the movie so far. That all being said, I want to thank these lovely people for supporting us this month on Patreon. If you don't see your name on the list, you can change that by going over to patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower, and for as low of a pledge as $1 a month, we'll plop you on there. While you're over there, you can check out the other perks we've got going on: giveaways, live hangouts with James, Ted, and sometimes myself, custom artwork. There's a lot of stuff you can do over there. As always, I've been Maddie Washburn. This has been The Vanishing Point. We'll continue to stay those things so long as you continue to stay you. I love y'all so much. I'll see you in 2 weeks.